Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. The questions just keep piling up, unfortunately, regarding what exactly is going on with the Idaho versus Kohberger case. By way of background, this case was closed over 8 months ago in July of 2025. One person and one person only has ever been arrested with respect to the catastrophic events that occurred at 1122 King Road on November 13th, 2022, and that is Brian C. Kohberger. There has never been a whisper of an alternative perpetrator, of an accessory before the fact, of an accessory after the fact, of a co-conspirator. It's Mr. Kohberger and Mr. Kohberger alone, according to the Moscow Police Department and the state of Idaho. In looking at the docket today, 8 months after the case was closed, there's no appeal in this case. There's no whisper of an appeal by Mr. Kohberger. In fact, he signed away all of his appellate rights. And so the question is, why is this case still almost as highly sealed as it was when it was prosecuted for the more than 2.5 years that it was, with what I've referred to as a virtual Mount Everest of documents under seal, which continue to, for the most part, remain under seal. Judge Hippler has only released a few documents from April, from May, from June, and July, and one document from February of 2025. That's it. Everything else, and principally all of the evidence that the public has heard about, that's been described to the public, that's been discussed in closed-door hearings on top of the gag order that was in effect, has yet to be released to the public for the most part. And now if we go on to the public docket today, and it's the evening of April 7th, 2026. So that means courts closed in Ada County. Nothing is going to be released today of these 89 documents that we're still looking for from the first quarter of 2025 that Judge Hippler stated was going to be released, ordered their release on December 18th, 2025, nearly 4 months ago. They're still not on the public docket. But what we do see is in looking at the case summary page, which has finally been updated, and it looks like it was updated yesterday, the 6th of April at 11:56 a.m. And we can tell that by looking at when it was printed. And that information appears at the lower right-hand corner of the current case summary page. This, by the way, is the document maintained by the clerk of court from the beginning of the case, or it's supposed to be, that documents in chronological order all of the key events that happened in the case from its inception to the present time. The reason why I say with the caveat of it's supposed to be a chronological summary of all the key events is that last year we noted that at one point this case summary page basically was cut in half. And there were notations that were on that case summary page for years that suddenly disappeared. So the case summary page right now is only 56 pages long. Last year, it was well over 100. There's never been an explanation as to what happened to this case summary page, and it's never been restored as far as we can tell. Now, looking at the case summary page as of right now, and if you go to our sister YouTube channel on the community page, you can see what we're referring to here. We see that on March 19th, 2026, that there apparently was a motion that was filed by the state of Idaho, a motion to amend order of restitution. And we know that this is a public record, or it's supposed to be, because unlike the many, many, many documents that have a lock and key icon next to them on the case summary page, indicating it's a sealed document that won't be published onto the public docket, this document has a PDF next to it. Yet today, April 7th, this motion concerning state's motion to amend the order of restitution still has not been published onto the public docket. And that appears at the bottom of page 55 of the case summary page. If you go on to the next page, you're going to see that there's 3 other related documents. Number 1, a March 20th, 2026 amended motion to amend order of restitution that the state of Idaho filed. So in other words, after filing the original motion on March 19th, they corrected that motion. They added information to it. They took information from it. That's what an amendment means. PDF icon, not on the court docket. Then there is a document dated April 2nd, 2026. A PDF icon next to it. Request for decision without a hearing. This is a state filing, and this appears to possibly be related to this motion and amended motion to amend the order of restitution. A public record, it's not on the public docket. And finally, April 3rd, 2026, a response from the defense, PDF icon next to it, defendant's response to state's motion to amend restitution. And that is the last item on this case summary page, appearing at page 56. Now, if we go over to the docket itself as it appears today in Idaho versus Kohberger, there is nothing that's been published so far in 2026. Tomorrow's going to be the 8th of April, well into the second quarter of the year. And the only things that appear on that court docket as of right now are items related to either motions to seal things from the public or orders sealing things from the public. The 89 documents from the first quarter of 2025 ordered to be released, they're sure not on the public docket, and there hasn't been a fourth court order from Judge Hippler to the parties per his process that he instituted after the case was closed, where he goes to them and asks them for their objections or non-objections to possibly unsealing documents from the end of 2024. That hasn't been released yet. The court hasn't released another order dealing with potentially unsealing documents from 2024. The last one that was issued was back in October. That was the third court order that dealt with the aforementioned January, February, and March of 2025 documents under seal. Ladies and gentlemen, I am hopeful that there will be some transparency that finally comes out in the Idaho versus Kohberger closed case where it relates to unsealing documents to the public. This will now conclude this episode of the Indie Zone. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.